Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome and I hope you all are doing well. So I'm back with another hair tutorial. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a super flat feed-in braids on my natural thick hair. So this hairstyle is great for thick hair. All right, so I've already went ahead and sectioned off my hair off camera. So as you can see right here, so I'm going to move on to the next step, which is making a section for the first braid. So in order to get the braids to be like really flat, I'm going ahead to make a small section of hair. So next I'm going to take my hairband and put the rest of the hair away. So next I'm going in with my oil-based hair cream and I'm going to be applying that on the body of the hair and also I'm going to be applying that on the tip of the hair before going ahead to brush it through. Okay, so now that that is done, the next step now is to go straight into the braiding part. So before you start, you want to make sure that you've already arranged your hair so that way all you have to do is to pick the hair and add it to your braid. I'm starting with my own natural hair first. I'm going to make sure that I have a firm grip on the root of the hair and before going ahead to add in the first piece of hair. So again, I'm trying to make this braid as flat as I can. So I'm going to be adding little hair at a time. Okay, so right now I'm going in with the first piece of hair and I'm going in with a really super tiny piece of hair because I want this braid to be like super flat. So I'm going to be using a really tiny hair for the feed-in braids. So to get the braids to be like super flat, so after adding the first piece of hair, you want to give a little bit of gap before going ahead to add the second piece of hair. And also when adding the second piece of hair, you want to make sure it's also tiny. Okay, so and also when braiding the hair, you want to make sure that the braid is firm and not loose. So we're doing a bit of a tight braid. So tight, not to the extent of pulling on your scalp. So we just want the main braid to be firm. Okay. So right now I'm going in with the second piece of braiding hair. As you can see, the hair I'm adding also is tiny, so you want to make sure to give a gap like this in order to maintain the same size of braid all the way to the back. So you want to add tiny amount of hair while also giving it gap. So again, just go ahead and continue braiding until you feel the need to add a little bit more hair. So next I'm going in with a third piece of hair. As you can see, the hair is also tiny, so I'm going to add that and also then I'm going to continue braid a little bit more before going ahead to add the fourth piece of hair. So right now I'm going in with the fourth piece of braiding hair and also making sure to use a little bit of hair, but although the fourth one is a bit bigger than the third piece of hair I added, just a tiny bit bigger than. Okay, so I'm going to braid a little bit more again before going ahead to add the fifth one. The fifth braiding hair I'm adding is a bit bigger than the fourth one. So yeah, as you can see, I increased the amount of hair I add to it, getting close to the end of the braid. So again, for the last one, I'm going in with a really tiny piece of hair to kind of balance out the size of the braid. So now that that is done, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up this braid so we can move on to the next one. So when making the section for the braid, so at the back, you want to make sure that the line is really tiny. So that way, when you add the braiding hair extension, it will balance out the size of the braid, as you can see right there. Okay, so again, to start, I'm going to be starting with my own natural hair first before going ahead to add the braiding hair extension. Okay, so for the braiding hair I'm using today, I don't have a link for the braiding hair. That's because I'm using an old braiding hair. So I used this braiding hair 2 years ago and only had the hairstyle on for like a week. So I took down the protective style, then washed the hair, and next I put the hair away. So I decided to take them out now to use it for this hairstyle. So what I did, I just used a shampoo to wash the hair and let it air dry overnight. Okay, all right, so right now I'm going ahead to add the first piece of braiding hair, also doing the same thing, adding a tiny amount of braiding hair, and also I'm going to be braiding a little bit before going ahead to add the second piece of hair. So I'm trying to maintain the same braiding, the same size for the braiding hair. So also I'm making sure that the braid is firm, tight and firm, but not to the extent of it pulling on my scalp. All right, so next I'm going in with the second piece of braiding hair and also a tiny amount of braiding hair. So doing the same thing, I added that to the braid, and I'm gonna braid a little bit more before going ahead to add in the third piece of braiding hair. Okay, so right now I'm going in with the third piece of braiding hair, and I'm using the same amount I used for the second piece of braiding hair. So I'm going to go ahead and braid a little bit more before going ahead to add in the fourth piece of braiding hair. As you can see, I'm giving it gap in between adding the braiding hair extensions. You see I give it a lot of gap. So I'm trying to maintain the same size of braid all throughout the whole hairstyle. So right now I'm going in with the fourth one, but the fourth one is also the same size I used for the third one. So my hair is thick, so I don't want to add too much braiding hair. So I'm going in with the fifth one, although the fifth one is a bit bigger than the fourth piece of braiding hair I added. So braid that a little bit more. Just at the end, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit bigger braiding hair, as you can see right here. So that will be the last piece of braiding hair I add to this very braid. So now that that is done, I'm going to go ahead and finish braiding this very one off camera. So actually, I didn't braid the hair all the way to the end. I just braided halfway so that way I can move on to the next braid. So at the end of the video, I'm going to be braiding the bottom part of the braid. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process on this very session too. So again, you want to make sure to give it gap when adding the braiding hair extension, and also you want to start off with a really tiny amount of braiding hair. So for the first three pieces of hair you're going to be adding to your braid, you want to make sure that the hair is tiny and also the same size of braiding hair extension. So starting from the fourth piece of braiding hair, you can start increasing the amount of hair braiding hair extension you add to your braid, and also making sure to kind of space it out to give it gap between adding the braiding hair extension. So that will help you to maintain the same size of braid starting from the front to the back. Okay. Okay, just a quick reminder on the braiding hair extension I'm using in today's video. I don't have a link for the braiding hair extension. That's because I'm using an old braiding hair. Okay, so for this braid right here, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the second piece of braiding hair. So after adding the second piece of braiding hair, I'm gonna stop adding braiding hair because the length of this braid is long. So as you can see, starting from the front all the way to the back, the length is long and I don't want to keep adding braiding hair extensions. So I'm going to be working with my own natural hair till I get close to the end of this very session right here. So getting to the end, I'm going to start increasing the amount of braiding hair I add to it. So the third one right here that I'm adding is a bit bigger than the second piece of hair I added. So I'm still maintaining the same tiny amount of braiding hair extension I add to the braid. So just gonna again braid it a little bit, give it a little bit of gap, and also making sure that the braid is firm and not loose. So getting to the end, I'm going ahead to increase the amount of braiding hair I add to it. So this will help to balance out the size of the braid. So I'm making sure to have the same size of braid all the way through. So I don't want one to be too thick or too thin. So you can tell and feel it with your fingers and see if it's too thick or too thin. So doing that will help you to decide on when to start adding the braiding hair extension or when to start increasing the braiding hair extension you add to your braid. So I'm almost done with the back section. So on the other side, I just did a basic braid, nothing fancy. That's because the bangs are going to be covering the other side. So I didn't want to do too much if it's not going to be showing. So on the side that you're going to be seeing, that people are going to be seeing a lot, and make sure to do something a bit cool. Yeah. So all right, I'm just gonna go ahead and braid this last one off camera. All done. So moving on to the bangs. Oh boy, can you see how long my hair is? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I just went ahead and combed my hair to make sure it's tangle free before moving on to the next step. So well, I've already went ahead and section off my hair for the braid. So I'm just going ahead to apply hair cream before going ahead to braid the hair. So for the braiding hair extension, I went ahead and cut it short, just a little bit close to the length of my natural hair. So also doing the same thing, I'm going to be starting with my own natural hair first before going ahead to add braiding hair extension. Okay, so right now I'm going ahead to add in the first piece of braiding hair, also making sure to start with a tiny piece of braiding hair, and also making sure that the braid is also firm, not loose. So you want to make it a bit tight, but not too tight to the extent of it pulling on your scalp, okay? I'm almost done. I'm just going ahead to work on the last braid. So also doing the same thing, I'm starting with my own natural hair first before going ahead to add in the braiding hair extension. So I'm also going to be giving this one also a lot of gap because of the size of the last braid and also the length of the section. So also making sure the braid is firm and not loose. Okay, so once you're done braiding your hair, the next step is to dip the braids in hot water, but don't dip the bangs in hot water. You can place a warm towel on top to kind of help the bangs to relax. Okay, so I've already went ahead and add most of the braids off camera, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you the last one. So here is the final result.
Driving with the windows down, trying just to drown it out.
Okay guys, so we have come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find it helpful. If you do, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and also if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. If you already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for popping by today, and thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you all in my next one.
Just let me be honest, yeah. Can we